Zampo. Welcome to Bhutan e-learning project. I am Binita Chetri with English lesson for Key Stage 3 to 5. Today, we are going to look into summary writing. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to define summary. Also, you'll be able to use the steps to create summary. However, let us look into our previous lesson. Do you remember what we did in our previous lesson? Of course you do, right? We did on paragraph writing. Now, in connection to that, we will be learning another form of writing, another form of writing skill, that is summary writing. You have done a lot of summary writing in your classroom, did you? How did you go about doing the summary? Now, if you haven't done very well, let us look into today's lesson. This will help you to develop or create a wonderful summary. Let's look into what summary means. How do you define summary? Summary, it is a shortened passage which retains the essential information of the original text. It is fairly a brief restatement in your own words. We do not copy the words from the text. You write in your own words. It is also taking out the essential points from a large chunk of sentences in your own words. I'm restating that in your own words. Now, why do we need to learn summary writing skills? Why is it required? You will improve your reading skill. Second, you will be able to enhance your vocabulary. Whenever you read a text, you will come across a lot of new words. Have you come across new words whenever you have read a text? You have, right? So when you come across these new words, what do? You try to look for its meaning and you learn that word. This means you are adding a word into your vocabulary bank. Third, summary writing skills helps you to enrich critical thinking. As you read your text, you'll try to understand the text. You'll try to analyze it. You'll try to interpret it. So, whereby you will be helping yourself to enhance your critical thinking skill. Finally, summary writing skills will refine your writing and editing skills. When you write a summary, you have to write it. You don't write just one time. You write a number of times. You write the draft, you write the final. So when you do this process or when you follow these steps, you are able to improve your writing skills. You are also able to improve your editing skills because you will be doing editing some of the sentences or some of the words on your own. So therefore, there are a number of benefits when you learn summary writing skills. Now, let us go on to the next one. Where can we use summary writing skills? Where? Which are the areas that you can use summary writing skills? There are a number of areas where you can use this summary writing skills and it will help you a lot. The first one, you use this summary writing skills to sum up information. Whenever you have a whole lot of information and you want to shorten it up and you want to present it in a very small sentences or a small passage, you can use this skill. Second, you can present information concisely, very clear, though in a very short paragraph, yet very clear. And the final one, to state the main essential parts of the original text without a detailed information. You do not have to present the detailed information. You just have to take out the key essential points and you'll be able to present the original idea of the author in your own words. So these are the areas where you can use the summary writing skills. Are you all with me so far? Yes. Now, let us very concisely look into the steps for summary writing. You cannot just summarize any passage or a text. You cannot make it into a shortened version without a proper guidelines. So what are those basic guidelines you need to follow in order to summarize any text? When I refer to this text, it means your stories. It can be the essays, can be the news that you read, any kind of varied reading materials that you read and you would like to summarize. Okay, the first step for summary writing is to read. You cannot summarize anything without having read the text. The first step is to read. Now, when you read this, the original piece of work, you need to focus on the main points of the text. What is the main point of the text? If it is a story, what are the key points in the story? That is what you do in the first step, nothing much. Second one, you need to gather the information or the ideas. What are the information or the main ideas presented in the text? What are the key points that is presented in the text? You can do this with the help of 5 W's. What are these 5 W's? The first one, who? The story about. Who do you find in the story? There's somebody in the story. Second, what is the story about or the text about? What is the main information the text is trying to convey? Third one, it talks about place, where. Where is it? Basically, this comes whenever we talk about or we read about a news. Whenever you are reading a news, then a place is always mentioned, where. Then comes when, time. When refers to time. Maybe last year, yesterday, today morning. So we talk about time, where, when. Finally, you have why. What is the purpose of the text? Message. What is the message of the text? Why is that text or a story or an essay written? What is the purpose of that? So these are the 5 W's that will help you to gather the main points of the text. This helps actually to eliminate the essential elements of the text. You'll be able to filter out the main points from the text. So that was number 2. Third one, reread while taking notes. Now, when you talk about taking notes, it can be done mentally. You can just picturize that. But when you read, this time, reread, it has to be active reading. What does active reading mean? You have to mark the important points when you're reading that text. You have to underline the topic, sentences. You also have to underline the significant plot points of the story. And you have to highlight essential quotes and major events that you see in the text. So you are reading it very actively, keeping everything in mind. So in other words, I would say mindful reading takes place in the third step. Fourth one, now you have the key points, you have underlined, you have highlighted, you know what are the major events, everything is done. You have whole information with you. Next step is to organize your notes. You have to have all your notes in proper order. Some of the information that you have underlined might be in the first paragraph. Some might be in the third, or some might be in the second paragraph. You will have to arrange all those information in proper order, logical, coherence. Do you remember my last lesson, coherence? So you have to, that is what you have to follow here. Take time to organize the information. Don't rush out because you have everything there. Don't just start writing. Take time. Which information do you think is most important? You need to have in the first sentence. Which is the event that you need to have in the second? So take time to think about it. Then you elaborate on the key points. Start elaborating the key points that you have highlighted. Please remember, you do not copy the sentences. So you elaborate in your own words. We have the fifth one as create a thesis statement. We need to create a thesis statement. How do you do that? We develop a thesis statement that demonstrates your understanding of author's work, original work. So you have to read that one and you try and develop a statement, thesis statement, the main points the author is trying to convey. So that's called a thesis statement. So you need to develop that in your own words, keeping the original idea of the author. After that, you recast author's original work without including your personal opinion. We are writing a shortened version of the original work. So therefore, we do not include our personal opinion. So that is the fifth one. Moving on to the next, we have draft a short paragraph. I hope you remember paragraph writing, the steps, the principles. So here, drafting a short paragraph, number of steps you need to follow again. The first thing that you need to do is the first line of drafting your paragraph, you have to start off with your thesis statement. Thereafter, do remember, we always write a summary in present tense, mostly. But sometimes, if there are some events, some incidents which are presented in past tense or which are presented in future tense, you may do so. You can have that by quoting. Then you have to include the author, you have to include the title of the work. You are drafting it, you are writing a paragraph. So far you have only picture in your mind, but now you are writing it. So these are the steps. Then be concise, be very clear of what you are writing. Your ideas should be presented in a very clear manner. Your summary should not exceed the length of the original work. So therefore, your length, here you can be guided yourself. What is the length of the original work? Now you are writing a summary. Your summary has to be a shortened version. Cite the direct quotes if you use them. In case there are some quotes you come across in the text, cite it directly. Do not put your personal opinion in the summary or your ideas or your interpretations. Okay? So your interpretation has to be based on what author has presented, the work. Then, finally, please remember, we always write summary in third-person narrative. So use the third-person narrative whenever you're writing a summary. Then we come to the second last step of summary writing, that is revise. Once you have done your work, your paragraph is ready, your summary, in fact, is ready. Now what do? Do you present that? No. What do? Revise. So in order to revise, you reread. You read your summary to make sure that you have presented the author's main idea. Whatever the author has presented in the original text, that is reflected in your summary. Ensure the text does not at all contain any personal commentary. That means your own ideas, your views or opinions. You may ask yourself questions like, is there sentence variety? Did I include a variety of sentences? Is it monotonous? Are there transitional words or phrases or connecting words? Did I use transitional words, transition phrases to connect the ideas? So we have learned in our previous lesson, how do we connect ideas? Did I use those correctly? So you may ask these questions to keep yourself guided. Finally, we move on to the last one, that is, read your summary one last time. This time when you're reading your summary, you are going to look for spelling, you're going to look for punctuation and grammar errors. and cross out any errors that you come across and rewrite them correctly. If you do that, your summary is going to be wonderful. You are going to write a very interesting summary. You'll have all the key points included, and you would be able to present in a wonderful manner. So these are the 8 steps of summary writing. I hope you got all those. Did you? Yes. Now let's quickly look into a sample summary, a very short one. So all right, I'm sure you all must have gone through the sample summary. Did you see the difference? It was very short, yet in the summarized sentence, the key point of the author is presented very well. So this was a very short sample of summary lesson. Now coming to the last part of my lesson, that is assessment for you. Since this lesson is for key stage 3 to 5, I'll give you a choice. Choose any appropriate short story from your reading and literature text and write a summary using the steps that you just learned in this lesson. Follow the steps that you have learned in this lesson. Can you do that? Just choose one text. If you would like to go with essay, you may do so. Thank you. Thank you very much for attending this lesson.